You just put some teeth and a bit of gum, and then do a couple of boolean cuts and so on, and then it's done. But not in theory, because in theory it is very complicated. You know, we've got so many things to think about. We've got the post-stamp to think about, the periphery roll to think about, whether it's a partial denture or an immediate denture. There are so many different possibilities, whether we're going to have a one-piece denture or a multi-piece denture where we're printing the teeth and they're coming out. So it is quite complex, but there is a workflow to it, and that is similar to what we are doing in the laboratory, so, or in the surgery as well. So, you know, if you rely on your knowledge that we've been taught, then it should be okay. Okay. So Wolf, I'm going to share my screen, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Not yet. Yes, we can.
All right, typically speaking, we're starting off with a bite block. This bite registration has been taken with an impression on the inside. So we have impression, and the bite block's been fused. Of course, the mesh structure is not very good, but we're going to take out the data that we need to make this denture. Now, the first thing that we would typically do is we would cut the surface, the integral surface out of the denture. So what I've got a few files saved, so we can skip a few things, but a few things I'm going to go through with you as well. So this is where we're going to go to the model designer, and most of you already know how this works. We're going to first smooth a few things off, because sometimes we have a lot of these rough areas there that we don't want. So I'm just going to take a smoothing tool and just quickly smooth through. Excellent. So that's good enough. Wolf, can you do this with models sometimes, don't you? As well.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to get the arch cut line well positioned onto the mesh. Having said that, this arch cutting line is way more resilient to, you know, back in the day when we started. So you can really go into little crevices and things like that. We're not that fussy any longer.
Yeah, one thing that I did forget is, because we don't have a separate bite block, we're going to duplicate this one, because we're going to need that one later. You can imagine that when we're cutting it out, make sure the magnet tool is off. And I'm just going to move that through to a new collection or something. I'll just call this hidden collection like this. And most of you are familiar with how this actually works with the outliner window over here. Actually did a copy now. I don't know. I think I didn't name it or something. Is that correct? I'll just call that bite block. And then we've got this one here. Yeah, that's fine. So let's just cut that out, and then I'll just do one, and the other one I've got saved. So we'll just do the arch cutting tool. We're going to extrude this along, and we're going to just cut it out like this.
Okay, just to make sure that you keep all the anatomical features.
Okay, perfect. When we get to the other side, we're going to fuse these two together. We're going to trim it, and we're going to make our model. We're going to select the mesh that we want to keep, and then we're going to clean it off and create a model with base. Before we do it, we're going to check that you can see it's inside out. We're going to flip the normals around, and then we're going to make an upper base with a border. And then we would do the same thing with the lower model. And then we're going to continue with that. But for the purpose of this Zoom session, I'm going to skip through this and we're going to call up another file. So this is then what it looks like. And we have our byte registration, and we've got our lower scan still, which we have to cut into a model. Okay. All right. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to put this into an articulator, because we know that this should be in the center of Blender. This is very, very important. Let's go and do that. In order to do that, though, I need my byte block. So I'm going to look for my byte block, which is here. I'm going to link the two together. So this one and that one, right click and join. And we're going to go to the articulator, which is quite easy to do. We're going to name this upper, and we're going to name this one lower. We're going to import our mounting table, which we've got over here. And we're going to then put this into the center of Blender. We can see where the midline is, and that needs to correlate the two of them. We're going to briefly look at it from the right-hand side as well. Move it along this way. And of course, typically speaking, we're looking at about from here to this point here. It should be around about 7, 8 or 9 millimeters. So we can actually see with these squares as well where it is. So I'm going to place it around about here. All right, so that's that, and then we can delete the mounting table. We've finished with the mounting table, and of course now we have to separate these two because they've been linked up. So let's just go in there. In the model designer, we're just going to click on separate, and then we can just delete this color. So we're back to square one. Now we've got our models, we've got our byte block, everything is aligned where we want it to be. And then we're going to do the next step. And the next step is we need to go to the block out model, because sometimes we have deep undercuts, which we want to block out. So a bit of object management is always good. You can go into the Denture module. We have a whole section here where we can manage these objects. So this one, of course, is the byte block, and we can hide or see or hide that one. This one we don't have to throw in there yet because we need to block both of these out. So what most of you are maybe familiar with this procedure. So this is the upper. We're going to create an offset model, and this depends on how your resin is and your printer. If we want a very close fit or tight fit, we would then change this offset. So this expands it by 100 microns, and we're going to apply that. If you're milling a denture, you can set this even lower, say 50 microns or something, and then we're going to voxel remesh this. Okay, now this one doesn't have many undercuts. I'm going to leave it as it is. The lower one has a few undercuts over here, so this one needs to be addressed. So we're going to name this lower, create the offset, exactly the same procedure. Excellent. And then we're going to survey the lower. Survey. Have a good look at the undercut areas. And then once we've done that, we're going to create a retentive model. So now we've got the models done. What we do need to think about is the post dam. So that would be the next. We've got the denture models ready. So this procedure takes a bit of thinking time, and depends what your graphic card capabilities are. Okay, so it didn't take too long. All right, so we've got these two models. I'm going to go to the denture module, and up top here, we're going to start with the denture module. The first thing I want to do is I want to create my post dam. So I'm going to click on this one. It'll flick it upside down, and it's going to give me this yellow butterfly type of thing. Now we can move this any way we like. we can scale it up bigger, or we can scale it smaller. We can make it longer or shorter. So it's very flexible. When we're making a denture, there are certain landmarks that we need to think about with the post stem. I'm not going to get too involved in the post stem at the moment, but what this is, it's a thing that's been shrink wrapped to the model. Now, what we want to do is we may want to edit this post stem. So if I click on edit, I can then take this one and we can grab it wherever we want to grab it. So let's just do this like that. Okay, so from here, object mode, and we're going to lasso the excess away. Okay, there and there. Okay, so don't worry about this little thing because it's going to get eliminated with the next step. So Wolfgang, what were you saying?
Yeah, so the post stem has got multiple different depths, as we would do when we scratch into the model. That you can imagine the bony midsection is very shallow, and then it dips down a little bit deeper. While it looks quite large, deep in digital, it's really only measures probably 1 millimeter.
1 millimeter. Yeah.
So we would then still smooth that slightly.
We would smooth it out. So there's various depths here. We're going to smooth it out a little bit, and that sort of concludes our post stem area.
There's a crease tool in there that you can still use in case you still want to define the very posterior edge.
All right, so from there we're going to exit our post stem, and then we've got the next one, which is the denture relief. And some people want to put a little bit of relief in their denture, like a suction pad or something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on paint on relief, and this relief you can also block things out. So Wolfgang, you mentioned the other day that sometimes the bony ridge on the lower model can be undercut or whatever.
Or it can be very shallow, the mucosa, and the bony section we just relieve that a little bit.
Yeah, so assuming you want to make a suction pad or whatever, I haven't used these in many, many years when I've done my denture work, but this was requested for us to include this little thing. Of course, we need to smooth it a little bit because the sharp edges are no good for anybody. Okay, so let's just smooth it down like that. All right, so from here we're going to exit, and now we've got all of the elements are there to create our layer. Now picture this, we're in the dental surgery or the lab, and we need to put a sheet of wax down over the model. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. But before I do this, I'm just going to quickly do some object management. So this one's my upper model, and this is very important because we need to be able to hide and unhide objects during the entire denture making process. So okay, so let's do this. So here, actually, you know what, Wolfgang? I think the draw layer comes next. Yeah. Drawing the layer. So this is very similar to the splint module. This is my target model. Okay, we call this target model. Shift right click to place our cursor, and we're going to start drawing our line. Excellent. So here, extrude, you can click on this one, and we can extrude all the way. Now I have made another file, so after this, we're going to go straight to the other file because it's exactly the same for the lower. Here we want to extend it a little bit further than the post stem. Okay, we're going to fuse the line, and then what we're going to do is we're going to trim it. Excellent. Select the mesh you want to keep, clean it, and make your layer. Excellent. Okay, make layer. And this is typically speaking 2 or 2.5 millimeters thick. So we're going to accept that and we're going to smooth it down. Okay, smooth down. And we're going to give it a quick smooth down. So this is exactly like our wax that we would put in the lab or in the surgery. Okay. All right, so that concludes that. We're going to exit. And then we're going to do the same for the lower one as well. Okay, for now I'm going to open up a new file. All right, here we've got our 2 layers, perfect. Now, the next step, what we would typically do is we would need to choose teeth. And so we're going to go into our tooth selection. So it follows a logical sequence. Tooth selection, we're going to change to front view. It brings up my bite block. Now, in the bite block, we have the opportunity to get data which we need from the patient's mouth. For instance, we need the midline, which we've got now. We've placed the models correctly. We need the smile line, because this is going to determine how long our tooth is. We need the line from canine tip to canine tip, and preferably the bite block should be on incisor level. In this case, it's not really quite so, but it doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is we're going to shift right click to place my cursor. Now this is a measurement tool. Now, if this is a cusp tip, the tooth libraries are always measured from the distal part of the canine to the distal part of the other canine. In the mouth, however, we're measuring from the corner of the nose downwards, which would be the tip of the canine. So this is always a little bit longer. So just keep that in mind, okay? Okay, so this tool allows us to measure along a curve. And you can use it also for the lower, to measure from, the tooth length for the posteriors or whatever you want to do. Okay, so we're going to create a marker and we're going to move this marker across to the other side like that. And this gives me a measurement of 42.86, call it 43 millimeters. I'm going to do the same for this one here. Okay, so we're going to click on this one and extrude, E to extrude all the way to the tip here. Click this one and then measure. Okay, and that gives us 1 about 10. So 43 times 10. Now, if you've got your own tooth library, good. If you don't have your own tooth library, we can grab a tooth library. So I'm going to open the tooth charts. Wolf, maybe you can explain how this works.
Yeah, okay. This is going to open a web browser and you'll be able to select teeth. Now we've got ruthenium tooth molds here. Just go through them, and then as you would do normally, you select your distance, the length of the teeth and the width of the teeth, pick your mold and the whether they're triangular or round, whatever, and then you're going to import those. We'll look for those in the component module.
Yeah, so here's a tooth, anterior tooth, 43 times 10. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. If you don't like the shape, you can have a look at a different shape. Then what we're going to do, typically speaking, the front teeth card determine the rest of the cards. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the conversion chart. TC15 would be a TI4 lower, and a posterior teeth, we have quite a wide selection. So I've pre-written that down so we can do that. We're going to go to the components module now. In the components module, I'm going to go to the teeth, ruthenium teeth. I'm going to be looking for my upper, and I'm going to look for TC15. Let's just make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so here, 8. Okay, so here we go. We're looking for TC15, which is
Up top.
here, this one. Yep, that one there. Bring that in, and we've got, Wolf, can you explain the gum?
Yeah, so we've made pre-shaped gum, which speeds up the whole denture making process. Of course, you can also work without it. There's a way to make dentures without pre-made gum, but we found this to be extremely fast. So all the gum is already pre-carved.
Yep. So there's basically 3 ways of making gum. We can use pre-sculpted gum, and the other way is we can extrude gum from open tooth libraries, or the other one is we can use the actual layer here to make gum.
Yeah, all right. Now these teeth are already set in curve of Spee and Monson in a balanced bite, which will save you quite a lot of time.
Okay, so we're still going to bring in the other gum. Now these teeth, they are the correct shape. So, you know, if you wanted to make a denture, you can actually purchase these teeth as well. All right, so this is it. We're going to go back now that we've got the teeth. If you've got your own teeth, you'd import your own teeth. All right, so in the denture module, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the setting up on these teeth. This is quite important because it's going to lock everything in position. So we're going to take this one, and all we're doing is we're sorting through our teeth. These are arranged in quadrants, as you can see. This is my lower. Okay, so if that's done that wrong.
Yeah, so we're working with blocks of teeth.
What have I done? Okay, so let me just do that. I've pressed the wrong button. So here, this one and this one. That's my lower. What's going on here?
So what Michael's doing, he's parenting the teeth to the gum.
Yeah, this one doesn't seem to be doing what it needs to be doing. It's really strange. Doesn't matter. Okay, I've got it to do what it needs to do. No, there's something not quite right, Wolfgang. Nevertheless, we're going to parent them. I'm going to open up the next file where I've got them parented. So there may still be a few little things that we need to check into. Okay, here we go. So basically what I've done is I've parented them. At this stage, we can't move the teeth. They are completely locked. All right, now the next thing is we're going to parent them. So here, setting up teeth, we've got something called parent. And what we want to do is we want to keep everything together. So everything, we want to keep the occlusion together. We don't want to go into individual tooth movement. If we do that, we're going to lose the occlusion, we're going to lose the aesthetics, we're going to lose everything. So we're going to move these teeth in blocks. Okay, so this one, this one, this one, and this one, we're going to parent it. Notice that everything else is hidden. So here with that one. Okay, now we want to move the lower onto the ridge. Okay, so if you wanted to make marks on the model, you can use that pencil here. It's quite easy to mark on the model. So what we are going to do is we're going to hide the upper model and we're going to look exclusively at the lower model. Now, we've got 5 tools here to help you with the setup of the denture. We've got 78% red RED template tool. We've got a midline tool, Monson and Spee, mounting table, and bite block. So, okay, we can import them individually or we can import them all in one go. So I've done it all in one go just to demonstrate all these tools that we have to our disposal. And each one has its purpose. So for instance, I'm going to hide these here, but I'm going to keep my my midline tool, and we're going to view this again from the top side, because we know where the midline is, and we've worked very hard to get the midline correct. We don't want to start moving the teeth and placing them out of our midline now. So we're going to keep them where we are. And if you look at it carefully, we've already got all of our setup arranged. There's very, very, very little that we have to actually do to create our setup. If you feel that you want to discard one of the teeth, we can quite easily do that. Just say you've got a class 2 bite, I think it is, where we, no, class, is that a class 3? No, class 2, I think, where we actually have to discard a tooth and there's not enough space at the back. We would typically move this to overlap over here, and then what we can do is we can trash the ditch that premolar later down the line. So it's quite easy, and we can cut the gum.
So as Michael is moving this block, all of the other teeth and the gum, all of it is moving in accordance with these movements.
Yeah. So yeah, and they stay in the bite. So okay. So I'm going to hide the midline. I'm going to bring up my curve of SPI. And here we can see, thanks to us having aligned them already to the curve of SPI, you may just want to adjust them a little bit here or there, or rotate them a little bit, or whatever it may be. But the denture itself has already been set up. Okay, so I'm going to look at the other model. So I'm going to hide the lower model. I'm going to look at the upper model, and from the bottom up, and we're going to unhide everything. And over here, we can hide a few things as well. Now, if I expose the midline tool, we can then move the front anterior to the correct position. And by saying that, if we have Wolfgang,
the gauge that you...
The incisor papilla, incisor papilla. Yeah, so we got the incisor papilla, and usually it's like 2, 4, 6, maybe 8 millimeters or so up forward. Okay, so this depends on your personal preference. Here, what I'll do is I'll rotate it a little bit, grab it.
I suppose you could verify that also with the bite block. You know, how far you're going to push them forward.
Yeah, correct, Wolfgang, because we've got the bite block right over here. We can verify that with the bite block. Of course, this bite block is not quite on the ridge, on the patient's ridge, on the lower ridge. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but this is up to you to place the teeth in blocks where they should be going. All right. We're going to take this now the next step further. Okay, we're going to unparent them. I'm going to take all of these and unparent them like that. Now we're going to go into the waxing up of the denture. I'm just going to take a sip of water. Okay. If we want to cut the gum, there's a cutting tool over here. Quite easy to do that. What we do want to see is we want to see the layer that we've created. We also want to see our periphery roll. Okay, now this periphery roll is quite important. Wolf, can you explain?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've got to get that rounded edge as well in the denture, and so that we get extra stability. At the moment, the periphery roll doesn't have any muscle trims, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But at this point, you can set the peripheral roll thicker or thinner, and you can also move it. What Michael's doing is just moving it. So the point is just to get it into the sulcus area, and this is going to then merge onto your layer.
Yeah, so we can expand it, we can make it bigger, Control A, we can expand it outwards, or however we want to do it. So the periphery roll is very, very important. Following that, we want to join the gum. We want all these layers to join up together. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to extend this upwards. Okay, so the model is going to be our cutting tool. Okay, so just try and remember that we don't want to extend through all the way through the model. So that's not the objective. So the objective is just to bring the gum downwards. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to edit this gum. We're going to go here, edit, and we're going to bring this gum into the model like this. And we can scale it as well. Okay, something to that effect.
So you're just bringing it into the boundary of the peripheral roll. So we're pulling that in.
Yeah, something like that. Object, and here, toggle, scale, rotate, grab. So we're using all the normal Blender tool, shortcut keys. So toggle the gum. I'm going to move that into the model like that. S to scale, object mode. And lastly, this one is already where it should be. This one's not quite where it should be. We're going to bring that in here as well, like that. Scale and rotate. So this should not take you much time to do that. After that, what we want to do is we want to join all of these, everything together in one massive, big pink blob. Okay, so we're going to. Before we get there, we've still got the opportunity to change the gum. So if I wanted to edit this gum, I can fine tune it, and we can edit this gum and stick it. We can stretch it. We can stick it to wherever we want to do. Very similar there to the crown module. All right, so let's join all gum parts and remesh them. Now, you'll notice that in our menus, we've got these save things. So during the process, we can save the file, and this will save where the Blender file is saved as a separate file. And this one will be called gum design. So in any event where you want to go back, just say you do a try-in and it fails miserably, you can go back to a previous file, like here, setting of the teeth, initial wax up. You call up the initial wax up, and you can change the teeth to bigger teeth or to smaller teeth. So this is a very good thing for try-ins if they are not exactly correct, where you can just go to the file and start off from that specific location. All right, now this is where the fun bit starts, like the wax up and everything. I won't put too much effort into it, but what we do have is we've got a safety zone. Now this is similar to the crown module as well, and that gives us an indication where it's too thin. So here it's 2 millimeters thick. If you do want to do some really nice sculpting, you need some measure of how thick this denture is, because you don't want to sculpt through this denture, right? So, okay, so let's go and smooth it. Great. Every time you're smoothing, it'll change color. Okay, so we'll just do a little bit, and then I'm going to call up then the next file. Okay, so that's basically how it works. We're smoothing it down and so on and so forth. Okay, file, open.
But you can also unify that zone, can't you, Michael?
Oh, yeah, you can. If you want to, you can unify that zone to your denture. So if there are extremely thin bits, all you need to do is click on here, unify zone, and that will merge the two together.
And the palette, can you show that, or come later?
Yeah. I've done some sculpt work earlier on, so I don't want to spend much time on that now. Okay, smoothed. Okay, smooth. All right, so this is what it looks like when it's smoothed, and the wax up is finished now. We're going to go to the next one, which is really, really cool, I think, and that's the sticky gum. Wolf, can you elaborate on the sticky gum?
Yes, so we want to be able to move the teeth, but the gum has to kind of follow, because we've got a nice gingival contour now, And it would be very sad to move a tooth and then leave the gum behind. So we've got this feature that's called sticky teeth, and you can then move the teeth.
So the one that's sticky gum is going to change in color. And then we've got a shortcut key on the keyboard, the Y key, which will then attach itself to the gum. So you can see how it attaches very, very nicely. And, you know, we can rotate the tooth. We can actually put, we can put nature into the denture. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the Y key on my keyboard. It's going to change color. We're going to rotate it and we can grab it. So there's a lot we can do with this.
Here's a good question.
Yeah.
Why do we need to move the teeth at this point? Well, if I can answer that. So you've sent the denture for try in, and the patient says, it looks too much, too straight teeth. And could you move it more naturally? So now we can go back and bring in a previous file exactly where we've stopped. And we can say, okay, look, let's just move these teeth a little bit. So it gives us the opportunity to move teeth later down the line. Yes, we can do it initially, but this is the additional advantage.
Yeah, yeah. So we can bring nature into this. Some people want straight teeth. Yeah, that's fine. Hollywood smile, that's fine. But then there's other people that want gold chips and they want a darker canine, and the list goes on. All right. So the next feature is also really, really, really cool, and that is the gum texture. And the way this works is we're going to paint the areas that we want to exclude. So the blender key, the C key, is a circular painting tool, selection tool. And here what I'm doing is I'm going to just quickly use what I want to exclude in my algorithm. Okay. So just say that's excluded. We're going to click on gum texture. So this is going to texturize the gum, as you can see here, which is, I think it's really cool. It just makes it less smooth. It is quite coarse, but then if you think about printing and all of that, you may lose a little bit of this. So you can set it here. So you can make it very fine. You can make it almost non-visible, or you can make it, you know, really coarse, or, you know, that depends on you. But once you've polished it or whatever, you may polish it away. So we may need to also think about the post finishing. So once it's done, we're going to accept that, and then we can further smooth down just the joining parts like this. Yeah.
And also at the back, the back of the denture, the palatal area where you've got the peripheral roll, you can also smooth that down still.
Yeah, and the palate is then nice and smooth as well, like something like that. Okay. So this is really cool.
So
right.
there's a couple of other tools there, Mark. You've got a crease tool there, which is great. I personally really like the crease tool, and you can, you know, just create some special effects with that.
Yeah. All right. So let's not go too deep into the sculpting and so on. What we want to do now, we are faced with the question, are we going to have a one-piece denture, you know, just in tooth color or whatever, and then put composite on the gum, or are we going to have a two-piece denture and, you know, buy the teeth and then stick them in? Now, I've got to say, if we're buying teeth, car teeth are really beautiful teeth, you know. And if we do that, we have to make sure that we don't have collision. This is very, very, very important, because you can imagine that if we personally set up the teeth, okay, this one's locked now. If we personally set up the teeth, and now the contacts are intersecting, we can't go and buy a car teeth because they're not going to fit, and we're going to spend the whole day grinding these teeth in. So this is another cool feature that we've developed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the teeth that I want to move. The last tooth is going to stay stationary, okay? Or we can use it on all the teeth. But for now, I want to shuffle these teeth to get out of position. So individual selection of teeth, the gray one is going to be the pillar. It's going to be stationary. The other teeth we're going to move out of collision. And did you see how they moved out of collision?
Yeah.
So this means that they are zero in between. You can move it more. You can have 0.1 or 0.2. It'll make a gap inside between the teeth. You wait until it's 100 and then you accept it, and they're moved out of contact. And we're going to include this for our crown module as well, because this is very important when we make crowns, bridges, and veneers as well.
And the articulator as well.
Yeah. Okay, I've just saved this file. So here is hollow teeth, hollow gum, that's for partial dentures. We're not going to go into that tonight because I don't think we've got enough time. Now, we want to say, assuming we want to make a multi-piece denture. Okay, we're going to click on this here. Now, while we were doing all this beautiful work, making layers and everything, we've got this layer which has been expanded. And this is going to cut the teeth. And so here clearly we can see if we placing this, if we're gluing the teeth into a denture, this has to be cut down. Now, our default is 1.5 millimeters. So from the surface of the model up is 1.5 millimeter space, which means that when we're doing our pink gum, then we've got 1.5 millimeters wall thickness between the tooth and the actual pink. So this surface we can set, fitting surface. So this we can set. So if you think your denture wall thickness is too thin, you're going to make this a little bit thicker.
Yeah, this
so
prevents it from perforating through, because we don't want to have a socket in the pink printed denture and a hole going through it.
That's correct. So we're going to accept that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to trim all the teeth. Okay. Now this takes a little while, and that's because each tooth has been selected out, which is intersecting the green layer, and it cuts it. So we'll just wait a little bit. I think, Wolf, this is one of the longest ones it takes, but it wasn't too long. Now, the beauty of it is we can see where it's cut. Now, in this case, the teeth haven't been cut much. I think only one of them's been cut. Yeah, only one of them's been cut. So when we do this, this is the original tooth, and we can then see how much needs to be trimmed. So if we're buying car teeth, we know how much. It'll give us an indication of how much the teeth have to be trimmed and where they've got to be trimmed. Now, yeah, so let's just hide that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to expose the gum, and we're going to take our lower denture now, and we're going to then, there's another feature here with like a heat map. And if we make a denture and it's too thin, if it's too thin, the wall thickness, just say the wall thickness is too thin over here. So we've sculpted, we've made our nice artwork and whatever, and now all of a sudden we see, oh, it's too thin. Now this is something that we thought of that needs to be done. And then what we can do is we can select all the teeth. So select teeth to map to. This is the gum that we're going to be creating a heat map on it, and it'll show then in red, or everything under 1 millimeter. So if you had an exposure here of a red dot coming over here, we know that it's too thin. And then what we can do is we can go and sculpt and blob that out a little bit more. So, all right. Nevertheless, let us make our hollow, because at the moment what we've got these like this. Okay, we're going to select our gum and we're going to create socket cutters. Now these socket cutters, for those of you that are familiar with the block art module and so on, it's very similar. We're setting an offset. So if you look carefully, there's an offset. If your teeth are too tight, you will change this offset. If they are too loose, we're going to make it smaller. Our default is 0.2, and then we're going to cut the sockets. Here we go. Sockets have been cut. We can see that's all good. This is all fine. The last thing that we need to do with this one, we can create our fitting surface. Before I do that, I'm going to make this one into a one-piece denture. So we're going to go into one piece. This is typically speaking if it's a try-in, for example, or you want to take composite over the top and it's tooth color, the whole denture's tooth color. We're going to take this one and we're going to unify selected gum to teeth. And this also takes a little while. Each one of these teeth has to be unified to the actual gum.
Or you can have a multicolored puck as well, Mike.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Now you would do this with a hybrid as well. So if you're doing a hybrid, you would then take your hybrid and connect it to your implant abutments. Yeah. Wolfgang, you were saying?
Yes. Well, for hybrids, we might not use preformed gum. We've got another technique to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's done within like 4 or 5 minutes flat to make a hybrid. It's really, really fast, very fast. Oh, I was going to get to that, but I don't know if we've got enough time.
So, Michael, now the question begs is that what about the frenum and the relief for the muscle trims?
All right. First of all, we need to cut the fitting surface. So this is the denture. The other one is the target model, and we cut it. Cut it. We do the same for the top. Take that one. That's the denture. Target. And cut the fitting surface. Good. Yeah, that's a good question, Wolfgang. And the frenums, they need to, those muscles need to be cleared, and we don't want to guess it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll just hide this stuff. Okay, and by the way, there's a button here at the bottom where it exports it straight away. So you don't have to go File, Export, STL, blah, blah, blah. You just click on this one and it'll automatically export in the same directory where you've saved your Blender file. So you just click on this one and it'll take this one separate and this one so you can print them.
And in that same folder, you'll have all the other stages filed away. So you'll have the wax up. Yeah.
All right. So we've got the frenum here. We're going to paint on the frenum. Okay. We're going to make a little line like this. and perhaps maybe just a little line like that over here. And we can do the lingual as well, but they need to be done separately. So we're going to extrude these buccal, and this is going to make a cutter. Like that. We're going to expose our denture. We're going to take our denture and we're going to cut the frenum. Like that. And then, of course, then what we can do is smooth it down. Smooth. Now, this one may have protection. Protection, we know, those of you who are using the crown module, we've got this all protected, but we can also clear the mask protection, and we can then smooth down the periphery nicely and so on. So that's something like that. Okay, so I won't spend too much time on that, but there's one more thing that I want to just demonstrate, and that's the tooth jig. Now, if you are using, if you're purchasing denture teeth, we need to have some way of making sure that we can make a tooth jig. What's going on here now? I'll just separate these. I'll just see if this works. Okay, so we're going to make jig for selected tooth. This one we have cut. I've selected the other one by mistake as well, I think. Nevertheless, here we can see how it's jotting out of this. So the idea is to split it now into half. So we're going to create a vertex cutter, and we're going to extrude this vertex cutter like this. And we're going to section the objects. All right, so you then purchase your car teeth. You would then, typically speaking, you'd print it, you'd print this, and then you would stick your car teeth into this mold. So I've unhidden everything now. Okay, it doesn't matter. And then that one will then pop through there. You'd cut it with a burr, and then you will know that you can just pop that into your denture and it'll fit.
Yeah, sometimes we have to cut quite a lot of teeth, so it's quite helpful to do that.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, good. So
Excellent.
what is the time? What's the time now?
It's 5 minutes to the hour, so you got 5 minutes. What's your plan?
I was just going to quickly touch on the hybrid, but I don't know if we've got enough time. Maybe I'll just quickly touch on that. Hybrid.
They'll take you 5 minutes.
Okay, now what we have is we've got a model and we've got the implants which have been placed in position. So we, those of you that have the crown and bridgework module, you probably know how this already works. We need the teeth into a certain mesh structure. So this is very important for the crown module so that everything works perfectly. So what I'll do is we'll just quickly go to the crown module and put these into the collection, and that will remesh all of these teeth. Like that. So these teeth have all been remeshed. We can have a look and see what the mesh structure looks like. Then what we're going to do is my objective is to go to the denture module, and we're going to put this into the upper model collection, which we'll call it upper model. We're going to go to our drawing of the layers. Yeah, drawing of layers. This becomes my target model. I'll just unhide that again, and then we're going to draw out, we're just going to draw out something, a line. I'm going to go quite high up on the ridge because we don't want the we don't want a ridge lap. So we're always trying to get away from the ridge lap. Okay, so here the implants are over there, like that. Keep it quite close on top of the ridge. And this is another way of creating gum. Excellent. We're going to trim it. Select the red zone. We're going to clean it and we're going to make a layer. Make a layer. Now this layer, I want this layer to be a sufficient thickness. So right now I'm not quite happy with it. I'm going to make it thicker. So maybe 6 or 8. Maybe let's have a look and see what 8 looks like. Maybe 8. We'll keep it at 8. We're going to accept this layer and we're going to briefly smooth it down. So this is a very, very fast way of creating a hybrid or an I-bar or whatever you want to do. Very, very speedy way of doing it. Now we're insufficient with some of the gum, which we're going to pull that mesh upwards. So here in the wax up, we're going to go back to the wax up because we're waxing up. Select it. We're going to join all gum parts and remesh this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go into this one here, edit mode. And here we are able to very quickly pull this mesh up where we need it to go. Something to that effect. I'll just pull this up. And what it does, it'll stick to the underlying tooth. Like that. Just pull it up. So this is all good. This is looking quite nice already. Yeah, I'll just move this up a little bit more. Maybe like that. That's looking nice. Yeah, I'll just move this up as well a bit. And that's looking good. Yeah, that's all looking fine. Okay. Yeah, maybe here a little bit. Okay, that's fine. We're going to go into object mode. And what we're now going to do is we're going to select this and we're going to go back into the one piece. Although what we can do is we can even give it a bit of texture while we add it. Okay, so here bit of texture, accept it. We're going to go to the one piece because it is a one piece. Select it, and then we're going to unify selected gum to teeth. Oh, okay. This didn't work out now because I need to be called teeth. So this is something that we're still working on, but I'll quite easily just change it to teeth. Rename teeth. Okay, so we're going to take this and unify. There we go.
Excellent. After that, you can just connect the implant abutments to that.
Correct. Yeah. So here we go. I'll just hide the model. I don't know why this is here. So this is another thing I have to look at as well. Okay. We'll just take that away. So, okay. What we then typically do in the crown module, we're going to just make these tubes. We call them tubes. Over here, we're selecting our abutment. And by the way, these are little rosin screws. Apply that. Okay, now hopefully this will do the trick. I don't know what that is. We'll just take that away. So here we take that, and we're going to then generate implant fixture. Oh, Wolfgang, I forgot something. I forgot to cut. I forgot to cut.
I was just thinking that.
We forgot to cut the fitting surface. Oh
Yeah,
my
that's
gosh.
right. That's right.
Yeah, it'll probably still make it, but you know, we forgot to cut the fitting surface, unfortunately.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if it does do its job though. You should have said something there.
Yeah, I was just wondering, but you moved through it really quick. So
Too fast. Yeah, too quick. We'll just wait and
yeah, okay.
yeah. So it did it, but of course we forgot to do the fitting surface. But yeah, that doesn't matter now. We're going to call it quits now. It did work. It did its job, which is really cool. Yeah.
Can you just hide the analogs?
Yeah, of course.
So even
Just
though
hide
you
them.
had it the way it is, it did cut all the way through.
Yeah, but that's okay. And then of course what we would do next is we would cut the screw holes, and then that's quite easy and straightforward. But I think we're going to call it quits for today.
Excellent.